Leia Healthcare. It's good to live. Proud sponsor of the Real Health podcast with Carl Henry.
Folks, a very big welcome to the latest episode of the Real Health podcast in association with Leia Healthcare with me, Carl Henry. Folks, it's possibly the most important episode of the year so far. It's the Back to Health episode after a summer of excess. Lots of rosé, lots of barbecues, lots of nights out, and lots of indulging. Kids are back to school, routine is back to normal, and life is back on track. So we thought we would gather three of Ireland's most fabulous experts in the studio to give you all the tips, tools, and tricks that they can give you, that they themselves use to get back on track, and that you can use yourself. I hope you've had a wonderful summer, but line in the sand, it's time to get back on track. I'm not going to mention the Christmas word just yet, because it's not that far away. It'll all be ball gowns and little black dresses and suits and all that kind of stuff. So let's get the top tips out of our experts today with Janet Cleary, clinical nurse and mindfulness coach, Peter Thornton, wellness advisor with Spectrum Health, and Holly Carpenter, businesswoman and blogger. Welcome everyone to the Real Health podcast.
Thanks, Carl.
They're kind of quiet and nervous. They're all freaked out. Now, how are we all?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. Peter, I'm going to start with yourself. Let's chat about what you're seeing on the front line. So you work in terms of wellness in the office environment and with clients and stuff as well. What are the normal things you see after the summer? What are people coming back with?
I suppose, so part of my role would be conducting health coach consultations in both private and corporate settings. And so basically what I'm kind of seeing is over the course of the summer, it's kind of like around Christmas time, as you mentioned there, people just go off track, maybe eating habits are kind of out of line, maybe barbecues, out kind of maybe partying a little bit more, going on holidays, stuff like that. So just a regular routine is kind of a bit disrupted, obviously with kids off and stuff like that. And as well, it can really disrupt people's routines. So then kind of coming back to September, we typically see a lot of people booking in again, trying to look to get a little bit of structure again, a little bit of advice and get a program up and running again.
Okay, so it's about getting measured and starting a measurement, I suppose, after the summer and putting that kind of starting point to get back on track.
Yeah, typically we see September is the starting point for people again. It's quite a lot like January, really, in a way, where people are kind of getting their goals, kind of going again, just trying to get that structure and back into the routine again.
Okay, Holly, welcome to the Real Health podcast. You have a huge online presence. Does that bring pressure with it to stay on track 12 months of the year? And if so, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I think the whole Instagram thing, there is a lot of pressure that comes with it, and you're exposed to everyone's life all the time. So you're watching other people's stories, you're watching your own stories back, and it's hard not to compare yourself to other people. As much as I would preach that we shouldn't do that, that's the last thing we should be doing, it's so hard not to. So I think like at this time of year, like you were saying, it is like January almost, but it's kind of a nicer January because it's not dark and cold yet. It's still bright, but people have goals. So I think, with the whole thing on Instagram, I'm starting to see people now are back in the gym on their stories. People are starting to think that it's not that long until Christmas, like you said, and you want to start feeling good again after Christmas. I mean, after summer. But so like I think with Instagram, there's a lot of information out there. Like I follow a lot of accounts that have recipes, workouts, but there's so much information that it's almost too much. There's people saying I should go vegan, people saying you should try a keto diet, people saying you should do this, and then people out doing sunrise swims like 4 hours before I've woken up. And you're just like, how am I supposed to like compare to all this? And you see people as well with like babies and stuff and they're flat out in the gym. So it's hard not to compare. But I think the biggest thing that anyone should do if they're trying to get their goals going and get them in set is just mind your own business and look after number one, because it doesn't matter if someone's out jumping in the swim at 5 a.m. or eating chickpeas for breakfast. Like it's irrelevant to your life. Just try and do what's best for you.
And do you find a huge pressure in terms of the fact that you've got so many followers, and like how do you handle the pressure of that? Or if someone posts a negative comment, I'm always fascinated by chatting to anyone who has any following on social media, because I do think that comes with it, not just responsibility, but the pressure of a negative comment. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I mean, you do get a thick skin. I think I started modelling when I was 19 and I spent 5 years modelling, went to Miss World, did Britain's Next Top Model. So all of those things, there's huge pressure involved, but I put myself in those situations, so I'm not going to ask for any sympathy. Like I loved it as well. Do you know what I mean? But I think modelling was when I felt the most pressure because my measurements were on a website. If I was booked for something and it says I have an X amount of inches on my waist, I have to arrive looking like that. Whereas with Instagram, it's me, it's my life, it's my dogs, it's my breakfast, it's what I'm wearing at night, it's what highlighter I'm wearing. It's more personal, but at the same time, I still feel like there's a pressure that when you go out, you need to look as good as you look on your Instagram. And sometimes I get messages from girls like, oh, I saw you in Brian Thomas today and I was too nervous to come up and say hi. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, I was in gym gear, no makeup on. I'm surprised she even bloody recognised me. Do you know what I mean? So there's that too. But I think that's where you gain from just being yourself online, because if you're authentic, then people won't be disappointed, hopefully, when they meet you.
Okay. Janet, after the summer, people's habits go out, literally, they've fallen off the wagon. Habit forming and getting your habits back on track is one of the key things people can start doing now to get their health back on track, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think, just hearing Holly talking there, you think, oh my God, that awful pressure. But I suppose when you're doing mindfulness with people, you can always go back. You can start again. It's like the beginner's mind. That's part of something you learn even when you're doing a course. You can start again tomorrow, start again the next day. It's never too late. And then it's never too late to start a new habit, that kind of way. And just, starting with the self-care, that's huge, isn't it? But September, why not get back into self-care, start something new again.
And is there a time frame? I know that the famous is where there's 28 days for a habit to become a norm. Does that ring true? Or
I don't know. I think it's very different with different people, and it really depends where you're at. And if I'm doing a course with people, it's very much about meeting somebody where they're at. Like, for example, depending on what you do, the lay of healthcare or the pressure of modelling, all that kind of stuff, being a nurse, where are you at and where's your family at and where's your priorities? And, and what's your priorities? I suppose that's part of it maybe as well.
Okay, so it starts with a little bit of journaling, for want of a better word, a little bit of work on yourself, which is pen, paper, write down where you're at this current point in time and then where you want to get to in terms of your goals, in terms of your targets, and getting your measurements done, like Peter was saying earlier on.
Yeah.
It's setting those benchmarks and setting those targets.
Yeah, and maybe not giving yourself such a hard time as well, because people beat themselves up all the time about everything. I put on weight over the summer, this has happened, I'm not eating well anymore, I've spent too long on Netflix, all those kind of things, and you're always beating yourself up. So part of being mindful, I suppose, is about giving yourself a little bit of compassion, not a get out of jail free card, but just like, okay, where can I start and what's realistic for me, not for everybody else. I don't have any Instagram following, which is quite a relief, I have to say. I just have to turn up for work and that's it, So I definitely think it depends on where you're at yourself.
Okay. Peter, people coming back, what are the common mistakes they make? So what are you seeing all the time? There's January, we know that, but in September, people after the summer, what issues are they facing? What are they doing too much of or too little of or trying to do in terms of crazy mad diets out there?
I suppose there's a few very common barriers that we see all the time, such as lack of time, kind of barriers like that. If you're working, as most families now, both parents are working, they have kids. There's a pressure of family life, your job and everything then as well. So time would be a huge barrier. So trying to find a way around that. And I suppose the message that we try and get across to people is that no matter what the barrier, there's always some way around it. And as Janet was kind of saying there, it's about what suits the individual. So typically what we would try and promote is, you don't necessarily need to try a specific type of diet, or you don't need to go off and do 45 or 60-minute sessions. Just even the smallest step in the right direction is kind of the best place to start in January. But I suppose the main thing we see is people they go from having a very kind of upset routine to try and get everything perfect in September. And you're never really going to get everything absolutely perfect and kind of get your workout, your diet, everything spot on all of the time. So it's just trying to make small little changes again in September. And then, like you were talking about habits, then if you can kind of keep those small little changes for a month or two, kind of they start to ingrain in your behavior patterns then, and hopefully then that kind of carries you through. Okay.
Holly, what crazy changes have you seen people make? You talked earlier on about people that swims and chickpeas for breakfast and all that crazy mad stuff. I suppose what's out there in terms of diets or workout regimes? What mad stuff is out there at the minute?
I suppose I'm not proud of it, but I probably have tried every quick fix out there. Like if there's a juice detox, I've tried it. If there's some mad diet, I've tried it. Because the pressure gets to you, and you're advertising like when you're younger, if you're 21 and people are saying, just do a 10-day juice cleanse, your skin's going to be glowing. I was like, okay. So like I've tried all that stuff, and the migraines and the tiredness and everything and all of that. So I think people do try and push themselves too far. And what I've seen amongst my friends is that they've hit the ground running with the gym so much that they end up like unwell, like
burnt
out and just exhausted. So you need your rest days. And I think for me, like you were saying, small changes where if I make sure that I'm drinking at least 3 litres of water a day, I'm taking fish oils, I'm having a peppermint tea a day, I'm getting enough sleep. Because anytime any of my friends are, their skin's breaking out or they're stressed or they're emotional and they don't know what's going on, it always for me just comes back down to water and sleep. I'm like, are you hydrated? Are you tired? Like, and then they always say, oh, Holly's going to say now, how many glasses of water have you had today? And I'm like, well, are you dehydrated? Because I just think that simple things like that make such a huge difference. And I just try and get my 10,000 steps on my phone. I think apps these days are really helpful. I look at how many steps I'm getting. I use an app to see my sleep. I use my Fitness Pal sometimes to track my macros, because you could think you're being really healthy, but you're actually, you know, some protein bars and stuff out there, you might as well be having a Snickers. Yeah. So I find that actually making sure that you're reading the labels on things, and because, you know, there is so much false advertising out there. And if you were to follow everything that people are saying they're doing on Instagram, you might end up actually gaining weight, because someone could be paid to promote some like protein bar that's actually not going to do you any favours.
Yeah, so using technology is a big tip from your end,
yeah,
then, in terms of your Fitbit tracking, in terms of your macros, MyFitnessPal, and then sleep tracking and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, without getting obsessed with it. I think with everything there's a line, and I think sometimes you could be over, like, it's hard. It is hard. I think no one really knows, are they doing enough? Are they doing too much? But I think you just have to check in with yourself regularly and go, okay, how do I feel? Because you could think, right, I have a new personal trainer, I'm training every day, I'm only eating this amount of calories, but then why haven't I really sleeping that well? Why am I snapping at people? Because I know if I'm overtired and too hungry, I'm just a wagon.
Oh, that's hangry. Yeah, that's never good.
Comes out. It's not a good look.
Janet, breathing.
Okay.
Really important. I know it's something, not just yourself, but anyone we talk health about, breathing becomes a really popular thing. People talk about it all the time. Tell us your thoughts.
Okay, so it seems funny to talk about breathing, doesn't it? Because obviously it's something we have to do every day, all day. You can't leave home without it. You have to have your breath. But it's just basic pausing and listening to your breath. The difference it makes is, you know, it's transformative, really, you know, just taking a pause. You know, people think, oh, you know, what do you mean, Janet? What do you mean just listen to your breath? You know, what's that going to do? But it's like even, you know, thinking, okay, you know, I need to pause, I need to breathe, I need to know where I'm at, you know, I'm overdoing it on my apps, on my Instagram, on my head is full, you know, everything is going on. Well, what can you do? You can actually just use your breath. Again, that's what you might learn on a course or, you know, from apps or whatever. You think it's like, oh, sure, I know how to breathe. But it's about stopping and breathing and taking a pause. So it's very powerful. It's hugely powerful.
Give me simple ways for people to get that into their day in terms of, stopping. So I suppose, and Holly, you'll love this one, but, you know, putting your phone down during meal times or something like that.
Yeah. I was listening to you about leaving, you know, the phone outside of the bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Huge, like massive. You know, obviously when we're doing courses, you know, that's what we're saying to people to do. We're challenging. You know, you can't get rid of your technology. It's lovely. We all love it. But can you just take a little, step back from it, you know? So if you're a bit more mindful and you're a bit more self-aware, you're like, oh my God, I have my phone on me all the time. I'm missing moments. I'm not present. You know, technology is huge. You know, that's a big thing. So the tip would be, if you could start your morning off, you know, lying in bed, you don't have your phone beside you, it's not the first thing you do, that is a really good start to your day.
I'm guilty. Guilty as charged.
Yeah. But it's, you know, even if it's outside your bedroom, at least you've woken up and taken a breath, haven't you? Or maybe just like, I'm glad to wake up today. Yeah. What's going to happen? You know, there's some lovely little exercises you can do with like a bit of gratitude, you know, waking up and having a bit of, and again, they're habit forming. You know, just because you've never done them before doesn't mean to say you can't do them again, you know. But technology will be huge and taking a little break from it, you know.
And the gratitude, waking up, putting your head in the right mind frame for the day, the right headspace for the day, being thankful for what's coming ahead, and just being aware a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness is huge, isn't it? And it's like, when people take a little bit of time to pause and become a bit more mindful, what happens is your self-awareness can rocket. And you have to be outside or on the road or in the traffic to realise how people are lacking so much in self-awareness, even the way people are driving and, everywhere you go, people not communicating, again, it's kind of down to technology sometimes, losing the art of, conversation and human connection, which we all need. I mean, that's proven time and time again, so it's just, it's all so important,
It's crucial. Folks, you are listening into the Real Health Podcast in association with Leia Healthcare with me, Carl Henry. It's our top tips to get back on track after a summer of excess episode. We've 3 fabulous guests in studio to give us all the tips on how to do it. Peter, measurement. We talked about that already. If there's one, I know you hate this question because I always hate this question. People ask it of me. But if there's one key measurement people should measure, or give me 3. Let's be nice to you. Give me 3 measurements that people really should measure after listening to the podcast when they want to get back on track. If so, what are they and how can they measure them?
So first of all, definitely something you shouldn't really concentrate on too much is your weight. Kind of what we normally see is, once you start it can become quite obsessive, and next thing you're on the scales every morning checking your weight kind of and stuff like that, and it can lead to bad habits. So kind of something that's very important is body composition. So your body fat percentage and your muscle mass, kind of, or your ratio of muscle mass to overall weight. So they would be 2 very, very important ones, because what you can see is once you start exercising and stuff like that, your body will start to develop a little bit of lean muscle. Maybe you're having a reduction in body fat. Muscle is more dense, basically, than body fat. So sometimes this isn't reflected as a change in your weight. But what you will do is you'll see by getting like a proper consultation from a health coach or in a gym or something like that, that you'll be able to get your composition taken. So you'll be able to see some...
Composition's crucial. So if you've got to weigh in, make sure you get your composition checked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you're losing weight, you want to lose fat as opposed to losing muscle.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to keep as much muscle as you can on your body. Next one then probably would be your measurements. So kind of, again, instead of concentrating on your weight, you concentrate on your actual physical measurements. So by taking a few simple sites like your arm, your leg, kind of across the thigh or across the middle of the upper arm, across your waist or your tummy, they're very simple measuring sites that you can actually see changes. So essentially what you're looking to do is, as you said, lose fat, lose the weight in the areas that we don't want it, typically out to the front for males, and then kind of, it may be developing a little bit of muscle mass kind of, and where you do want it. So, your legs or your upper body or anything like that.
Great. And third tip?
A third tip really, I suppose, would be, it's not a specific measurement, but just your fitness in general. So we often concentrate, again, kind of, on weight or something like that. But just by taking part in exercise, just your well-being really, kind of, measure your well-being in general. Like when you start to get a little bit fitter because of exercising or eating clean and stuff like that, or your skin starts to get a little bit better, like notice all of those things as opposed to just putting it down to one thing. My weight hasn't changed, so therefore I'm not happy. There's loads of other things that, if you start to feel fitter and stronger or more flexible, your skin's clearing, all that sort of thing. There's loads of different kind of metrics that you can concentrate on.
And of course, if you want to measure your fitness, you can do something simple like a 1 kilometer walk or run test or 1 mile walk or run test or something like that. So you have something to benchmark against all the time.
Absolutely. Like even doing something, a 1 mile test, or, how many press ups you can do, how long you can hold a plank. There's some very, very simple kind of little tests you could do to test out your fitness. Okay, great. Holly, from following you online and even from just chatting to you today already, you strike me as quite the optimist.
Yeah.
Very positive, very upbeat, optimistic, is a really good trait. What tips would you have for people to become a little bit more like that in terms of themselves? How they can be more optimistic in their own daily lives. It's a quirky question, but it's quirky, I hadn't planned on asking it, but just from meeting you and following, and it's you're very happy. You're a very happy, bubbly person.
I think what I try to do is I try to catch myself, because like you were saying, we can all beat ourselves up too much. And even if it's something like, if I've eaten something, I'm like, oh God, you ate loads there and you haven't been to the gym since yesterday. I just stop myself and I'm not going to say I take a deep breath or anything, because I don't know much about the whole breathing thing, even though I'm doing it right now. Yeah. But I don't know how to do it properly. But I just kind of try and stop myself and just speak kinder to myself. I think over the years of when I was modelling and I was younger, I was definitely just so hard on myself, and I took everything so badly if I didn't get a job or if somebody said something about my weight. Like, because I'd be going to a casting at 20 and they'd be like, yeah, no, sure, her skin's not great and she's not going to fit into those jeans. And you're kind of like, yeah, okay, that's fine. How am I going to like have the confidence to go through the rest of the week and go to a photo shoot and stand there? And do you know what I mean? So I think that from being in a place where I did take everything so to heart, it kind of actually gave me a thicker skin. And like you said, there are people on Twitter and Instagram who are always going to have something to say. So if I was to get offended and upset every single day by something someone said to me, like I'd be in a hole. So like you kind of just have to back yourself. And I think as well, when you're working for yourself and stuff, you're kind of like a one-man band. So if I turn on myself, then who am I going to have to build me back up? So I think that like I went through a period where I was always there for my friends and I was saying, no, don't be so hard on yourself, just get up, you're doing great. Like, so I kind of talk to myself like that now, which really helps me.
Okay, so you back yourself is the key thing.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Janet, tips what we're going to pick from you. The breathing stuff was really interesting. It was really, really good. If there's 3 key tips or points of advice you could give to people to get more mindfulness into their day, what's it going to be?
Ooh, tips. It's really hard to do kind of the hard tips because it's your life, isn't it?
I've been really mean to you.
You are,
you
Carl. It's just, okay, I'm so glad I can say that.
Yeah.
It's like, there isn't a hard and fast rule. Here's a tip, to be more present in your life. It's work. It's hard, like keeping fit, like, keeping your figure, like keeping good skin, all those things.
It takes
it's
effort.
not easy. You need support. You need to understand how important you are. Self-care, like that's basically it. It's, yourself has to come first. If you can do that, which is incredibly hard, as a mother, very difficult, but that's the top tip. You start with yourself, like understanding, do you know what? Things are not great. I'm really stressed. Work is hard. I feel like a crap mother. I'm, whatever it may be, 1,000,001 things that are in our heads every day. Okay, so I think if people can understand how important they are, well, then they can work on, better ways to become more self-aware, more present, more connected. So it's huge. I don't have 3 top tips because it's every day and it's lifelong.
Okay, so it's hard work's the first one.
Yeah.
You're not selling it easy. It's not a quick fix. It takes a little bit of work.
Life is
2
hard.
is put yourself first.
Yes.
Yeah, and then 3 is reflect potentially on where you are now and where you want to go.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good, Carl.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
something along the lines of that. It's kind of what my job is, to kind of absorb all the content. Folks, the key thing around summer is the fact that you had the crack, you had fun. Life is all about balance. It's the 80-20 approach to health. That's what we always promote, not just on the podcast, but if you follow anyone online, that's what real people promote, because that's what real health actually is. But it is important to get back on track. You've heard from our panel in terms of getting the measurements started, measuring something, being optimistic and being positive, the importance of sleep, and the importance of being just more self-aware and backing yourself. There's a really positive emphasis on putting yourself first, patting yourself on the back and just pushing yourself forward and just realizing you're the number one and supporting yourself all the way through it. Now is the time to do it. By listening to the podcast, we know that you're interested in health. So the goal between this week and next is very, very simple. We're going to ask you to take some of those measurements on board to improve your sleep patterns, to try and become that little bit more optimistic and have the faith and confidence in yourself, and try and get some of those mindfulness things and do a little bit of work on yourself. Get the pen and paper out, put the stuff together and realize that yes, it's going to take a little bit of work, but that's the 1% rule. A little bit of work every single week will improve things and improve your health as we go along. I really hope you enjoyed our 3 fabulous experts. I'm going to give a chance to tell you where you can find them. Peter, we're going to start with yourself.
So first of all, anyway, you can find me on Instagram at Peter Thornton Wellness, and you can find me as part of Leah Healthcare's Health Coach Initiative. So as I mentioned kind of at the start, you can basically get a consultation through kind of your corporate, your workplace, or privately in one of the clinics, Dublin, Cork, Galway, Limerick as well. So if you're looking to change your behaviour, then Leah Health Coach would be a great place to start.
Fantastic. Holly?
I'm on Instagram on Holly Carpenter, and Twitter is Holly0910 because Holly Carpenter was taken, I think. And then also my other Instagram account is called Love Lift, which is a jewellery and accessories brand where I'll be launching my second handbag collection in October.
Wow.
So
amazing.
That's exciting for me.
Hey, congratulations. Fantastic.
Thanks.
That's great. So just give us those 2 accounts again.
Holly Carpenter and Love Lift.
Fantastic, great. And Janet?
Mine is janetcleary.com, and what I'm offering is courses, anything from hour-long lunchtime sessions, on mindfulness. I can do 8-week courses, come into a company and just, tailor it to whatever people want, small courses, large courses. And so people can have a look at the website and see what I can offer.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you so much for listening to the Real Help podcast, as always, and to our studio guests today. Really insightful, simple tips you can take away and use over the course of the coming weeks to get back on track after a wonderful, wonderful summer. As ever, we have lots more really funky episodes coming up. Next week, we're talking mindfulness with Alison Canavan, and the week after, we have a very special guest on the Real Help podcast with lots of other cool episodes to come. Have a wonderful week, and we shall see you next week. Slán go fóill.
Leia Healthcare. It's good to live. Proud sponsor of the Real Health podcast with Carl Henry.